Hello and welcome to my predictions video for tonight's AEW All Out pay-per-view. There's 10 matches on the card. I'm going to work my way down the matches in terms of where they're listed on Wikipedia, so this isn't necessarily the match order or what I believe to be the match order. This is just an arbitrary list that I'm working from, so I make sure I don't forget anything. So let's get into it, starting with the pre-show matches. The first one we're going to cover is the three-way trios match, which is the Undisputed Kingdom, consisting of Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett, taking on the Beast Mortos and Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty of Shane Taylor Promotions. And the final team is Action Andretti, Dante Martin, and Darius Martin, aka Top Flight. So yeah, this is going to be great fun, livening up the live crowd as they get into the stadium, into the arena, sorry. And I don't know. Probably let's go with Top Flight and Action Andretti to win, but it could just be the Undisputed Kingdom. To be honest, the Beast Mortos is really getting a bit of a push at the moment as well. So yeah, I feel like probably Shane Taylor or Lee Moriarty takes the pin in this one. Your guess is as good as mine for the other two, though. I'm just gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Top Flight. I think quite often these pre-show matches the baby faces win. To obviously get the crowd pumped and what have you. So I'm gonna go with them. The next match is a normal trios match, a singles trios match, no triple threat here. It's the Bang Bang Gang, which is obviously Juice Robinson, Austin Gunn, and Colton Gunn, against Cage of Agony, which is Brian Cage, and apparently the Gates of Agony are called Bishop Khan and Toa Leona. I've heard Toa Leona before. I've not heard. I don't recognize the name Bishop Khan. I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying that's my level of knowledge of this group. But once again, I'm going to go with the baby faces, which is weird to say about these guys, but it's the Bang Bang Gang to pick up the win in the pre-show match. Okay, so on to the main card now, where I'm going to put a little bit more thought into who wins. But first of all, we've got Will Ospreay versus Pac for the AEW International Championship. Now, Ospreay's just won back this title. And unless the plan is to get it off him quickly and move him into the world title scene ASAP, I don't see any other reason to take the title off him here. The only other thing I can think of is that promo at the end of Rampage was quite scathing in the sense that it was like, it basically said, Pac, they've not forgotten about you. They've just seen you in this position before, and you failed. They've just lost faith, or however he worded it. But that was basically the premise of the promo. And that's pretty scathing for someone who's then about to lose the match. But that's what I think is going to happen. I'd be happy to be wrong. I love Pac. He's one of what I call my low-key favorites, where if you ask me to name my favorite wrestlers, he probably wouldn't creep into my mind and be on my list. But whenever I see him, I just think he's incredible, and I thoroughly enjoy what he does, and he never disappoints. He's just phenomenal, so he is up there as one of my favourites. He's just not one that springs to mind, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm going to pick Will Ospreay to win, but like I say, we'll be happy to be wrong. Speaking of being wrong, let me know your predictions in the comments below and why you think I'm wrong on certain matches and why you agree with me on others. Let's get a bit of a conversation going about it. Up next is the Young Bucks defending the tag team championships against 2/3 of the six-man champions, the trios champions, Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Now, this one's interesting because if the Young Bucks retain, where do they even go from there? They've just dealt with FTR and the Acclaimed, and yeah, Grizzled Young Veterans have just debuted, but they seem to be heels as well, which you could do heel versus heel. I'm not denying that. It just seems a bit early to do that as well. And AEW's tag team division is basically sorely lacking outside of that. So on the one hand, you could say that Blackpool Combat Club winning here would freshen things up and offer us fresh matches. They can then go against FTR, the Acclaimed, eventually GYV. But I don't know. they've already the 6-man champions, and AEW is not against putting multiple belts on the same person. Look at Dustin Rhodes at the moment. You know, it's happened before, it'll happen again. They got the win in that pretty cool concept, by the way, the Collision and Rampage 8-man tag that sort of overran from one show into the other. That was fun. But they got the win over, was it Matthew Jackson got pinned? I can't remember, and I've literally only just watched it. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of a sign that the Bucks are going to retain, so I'm going to predict that. But I just don't know what they do next from there. Because the tag team division just ain't what it used to be in AEW, to be perfectly honest, and you need to start rebuilding it big time. Which, by the way, signing GYV, great move in that direction, don't get me wrong, it's just, it needs doing now. It needs doing promptly, because there's just basically no challengers left. But I'm still going to predict the Young Bucks. Next, we've got the Chicago Street Fight between Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. This is a tricky one to predict. This feels like the trickiest one so far that I've predicted, purely because I could see them going a direction with either of these. I could see like Willow winning and then Mercedes Moné winning, and then her going back after that title, or even going after Mariah May. As both the champions at the moment, as I record this, are heel on the women's side, so it would kind of make sense for Willow to get the win and maybe move into a title program with one of them. But Chris Statlander, they've always seemed to invest a fair bit in her, and she's the one with the, the big turn and the big dramatic character. But does that mean that Willow Nightingale finally gets her comeuppance? But also, Willow Nightingale just won it All In and therefore picked the stipulation. But that was mostly because, Stokely Hathaway is not Tomohiro Ishii. So, yeah, it's really quite a tricky one, this. I think I'm going to go for Willow because of the potential women's title feuds, either the women's world title or the TBS title. Yeah, I'm going to go with Willow, but this one's really a toss-up for me. I'd be curious to know who people think is going to win this in the comments, especially. Because if you've got like a real... If anyone's got like any real strong conviction one way or the other, I'd love to know your reasoning, because to me, this one's basically a coin toss as to... Like, I could have just tossed a coin and that would have made me as confident in my prediction as I currently am. Anyway, next up is the 4-way match for the AEW Continental Championship. We just had a bunch of qualifiers last night that Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Konosuke Takeshita won to challenge Kazuchika Okada for the title. Now, at first, I was like, yeah, this is just Okada retaining, right? And then I looked at it and I was like, okay, so I don't think Mark Briscoe's going to win it. I think he's doing perfectly fine just being Ring of Honor World Champion. I don't think they're going to add an AEW title to that. He's making plenty of appearances on AEW anyway. He doesn't need a title to justify him being on TV. And I just don't see it. But of the others, Orange Cassidy, AEW has this weird thing where he's kind of one of those guys that you can never really bet against. Because he wins a lot. Didn't they say on commentary he's got the most wins this year of anyone? Like anyone in AEW. So yeah, you can't bet against Orange Cassidy. And I could fully see them giving him the Continental Championship here. Given the success that his international title reign was, it was a good storyline of him pushing himself too hard until eventually he ran into a brick wall that was called Jon Moxley. So I could see that. Konosuke Takeshita has been being built as this like next big thing for so long. He's just had a really impressive G1. I don't know if it's just hyperbole or if it's like statistically true, but the most impressive debut G1 ever, like rookie G1. Someone let me know in the comments if that's like legit in terms of like win-loss or whatever, if he genuinely has the best record of anyone in their first ever one. And then, of course, you can't deny the probability of Okada just holding onto that title for a long, long, long time. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to predict a title change. Just because I think they might have done this as a 4-way because heel versus heel works, but wrestling promotions generally avoid it where they can. and you can move the title across without doing the direct thing, and you can build to this somewhere down the line when one of them's a babyface. I'm going to predict Takeshita to win the title, and eventually, clash with Okada one-on-one, which will be great, by the way. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm going to pick Takeshita. Again, not confident. I could just as easily see Orange Cassidy coming away with the title here. They're building back up a Jericho feud for Cassidy, which I'm so not happy about. And Jericho wished him luck and said, I hope you win the title so I can take it from you or whatever. And he's got his backpack now, which is great petty feuding, to be fair. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Takeshita. Final answer. Up next is the TBS Championship match. Camila's banned from ringside as Mercedes Moné defends the title against Hikaru Shida. Former 3-time, I think, Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida. So, on paper and in terms of how commentary will present this, a very credible challenger. I don't buy it. I don't buy that Shida's got any chance of winning this. Like, I know they've tried to build it up, and they've done their best with the build. I just don't buy that this is where Mercedes Moné loses the title. This feels like a filler feud. So yeah, Mercedes Moné. Simple. MJF versus Daniel Garcia is slightly interesting, isn't it? Because of the way they've done things. Because everyone speculated that they wrote off Daniel Garcia because he hadn't re-signed with AEW yet. And then when he came back and had like that big return at All In, there was a lot of speculation that, well, he must have re-signed because Tony Khan doesn't do that with people that haven't re-signed. Like, look at the Lucha Brothers. They were originally planned to be on the All In card, allegedly, and got pulled because they weren't re-signing. So either Daniel Garcia's re-signed and got this big spot as a bit of a reward, which doesn't necessarily mean he's winning, by the way. Just I'm just thinking out loud. Or he's not re-signed and they just saw an opportunity to get MJF even more over than already as like this despicable evil heel. Because he's a bit more dastardly and evil and less sort of like cowardly this time around. He's still got the cowardly tendencies, don't get me wrong, but he's a bit more malicious this time as a heel than his original heel run, I would say, is sort of a noticeable difference in my opinion. So they could just be feeding Garcia to him while they've still got him on contract time. I'm gonna take the safe bet here and predict MJF, but if Garcia has re-signed and Tony Khan wants to push him hard, a win here would be spectacular for Daniel Garcia. But I have a feeling they're going to tell the story of Garcia being like too fixated on revenge and it ends up costing him the match because he won't beat MJF. He has him beat and won't beat him. He just wants to beat him up. So yeah, I'm going to go with MJF. Again, never really bet against MJF in AEW. Next, the AEW World Championship. Bryan Danielson's first defense, I believe, right? He's not done a random Dynamite defense yet, has he? Against Jack Perry. It's only been like a week, 2 weeks, so hopefully not. Hopefully I've not forgotten it already. But yeah, TNT champion Jack Perry challenging Bryan Danielson. Again, just like the Mercedes Moné Hikaru Shida thing, I just don't buy it. It feels like filler feud. Jack Perry's doing fine with the TNT title. He'll go back to doing fine with the TNT title. Bryan Danielson's not dropping the title here. Like, no, end of. I'm pretty confident in that. And finally, the Lights Out Steel Cage match, which was originally a Steel Cage match, and it's been made Lights Out because there's too many rules in a Steel Cage match, so they had to Lights Out it to make it no rules. Like, what rule change did that make, apart from the fact that the win or loss isn't going to count on either guy's record, which seems like a cop-out. Anyway, yeah, it's the Lights Out Steel Cage match. A great feud that's been lasting for months and months. Great storytelling by AEW. Probably one of the best stories in the company, if not the best story in the company at the moment. Swerve Strickland against Hangman Adam Page. And Adam Page just burned down Swerve Strickland's childhood home that he just bought with his new AEW contract money in a lovely feel-good, look how rich this man... I mean, look how nice this man is moment. again, I could see like I said about Daniel Garcia, the desire for revenge consuming Swerve Strickland, so he actually loses the match. But Adam Page has kind of proven himself a bit untouchable in terms of wins and losses. He can eat losses and then just be just as credible. He's one of those guys in AEW, which is kind of to people's detriment sometimes, because then they just get booked to lose all the time. Swerve Strickland's just signed that new contract, just come off quite a long world title run that Page cost him, and then burned down his parents' old house, his mum's old house. Surely Swerve wins this. I don't know. I could see them going with Page. I absolutely could. But I'm gonna predict Swerve Strickland. I'm gonna predict the feel-good finish to the show, because with this being lights out, I assume it has to go on last, because that, they literally, they turn the lights out after the main show, right, and then turn them back on, because it'd be weird wrestling in the dark. But yeah, I feel like this has to go on last. So yeah, send the crowd home happy. Swerve Strickland win? Question mark? I don't know. There's a few of these predictions I'm not super confident in, so let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. But just to recap, I'm predicting Top Flight and Action Andretti to win the triple threat trios match in the pre-show. Bang Bang Gang to win the other trios match. Will Ospreay to retain the International Championship. Young Bucks to retain the Tag Team Championships. Willow Nightingale to beat Chris Statlander. Konosuke Takeshita to win the Continental Championship in the 4-way, Mercedes Moné to retain the TBS Championship, MJF to beat Daniel Garcia, Bryan Danielson to retain the World Championship, and Swerve Strickland to beat Hangman Adam Page. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Again, final call to action. Let me know in the comments what your predictions are. Let's see who's right. Leave your predictions before the show happens. Let's go. Do it, you cowards. And subscribe if you're new here so you don't miss my future wrestling content, including tomorrow's review of this very show, and a lot of other wrestling stuff in general, wrestling-related things. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been Ebeza, you've been amazing, and I will see you next time.